Hey guys, DJ here at Top Deck Cards and Games. I'm going to do a deck profile or deck tech on Junk Lumia. That's Wind, Light, Darkness Lumia, or a Sacred Princess of Guidance on the front side. This is going to be the last video I do before we get Millennium of Ages in. Millennium of Ages? Is that the name of the set? MOA. Don't know what the actual name is. Know the abbreviation. But yeah, so this will be the last deck I do before then. Maybe we'll get a gameplay in or something, but for sure the last deck I do. And I figured I would round out the, I guess, season you could call it, format maybe, with my favorite roller. Lumia was my favorite deck before Moon Priestess Returns came out. I don't know if it's still my favorite deck, but it definitely was the most fun deck I played then. This probably isn't the most fun deck I played this format. I think I like Scheherazade a little more, but this was absolutely my favorite roller before, so I thought I would close it out with the favorite. Let's just go over the stones first. 4 Magic Stone of Black Silence, 4 Magic Stone of Gusting Skies, 1 Almerius, and 1 Magic Stone of Wind. You'll see when we go through the deck list, this deck is pretty heavy on black and pretty light on black stones, which is a bit of a struggle. But you don't want to give up your Gretel percentage by cutting this Magic Stone of Wind for a Gruz Ballesta. And you can't cut Almerius, and if you replace these Gusting Skies, it wouldn't be with a green stone, so it's just too important to have Gretel resolve and be able to play your turn 1 Elves and Cats. So it struggles a little bit, but we have some ways to kind of hedge against that. Let's move into the actual deck list. We have 4 Elvish Priest and 4 Familiar of Holy Wind. Yay, another mostly green deck, just like pretty much every deck that is competitively viable right now. These cards are just too important to get you out of the early game against the aggressive decks. If we were playing blue or red, maybe we could get away without Elvish Priest, but in these colors we have 8 solid 1-drops, and I think we need to use all of them. Then we have 4 Gretels, some more mana ramp. Not much to say about Gretel that hasn't already been said. It's just one of the best cards in the format. Because we're playing these colors and need a better way to help deal with the aggro decks, plus one of our removal issues is that we play Light of Lumia, and Light of Lumia doesn't hit Fairy Tale creatures. But in general, the Fairy Tale Resonators have a very, very low defense stat, and Cinderella is able to pretty easily clear their board out. In conjunction with Elvish Priests that we don't really want to draw in the mid to late game, we can just kind of launch them off for damage, as well as Gretels, or, it's certainly better to do 200 to their whole board with Familiar, if it's going to kill a couple things, than it is to pay a mana and just deal 300 to one thing in some situations. And then we have 4 Thiefsing and a Gardea. These are the cards that help us deal with the black issue in the deck, seeing as Thiefsing can produce Darkwill, and Gardea can stack one of our green black stones to the top to ensure that we get the stones that we need. I almost considered using double Gardea just because the black requirement is so high in the deck, but I thought about it a little more, and it's like by turn 4 I should be getting to some Darkwill. If I play the deck some more and I can't really get there more consistently, maybe I'd put a second Gardea in, maybe over one of the Cinderellas. But for right now, I'm going to stick with that ratio. Then we have 3 Mephistopheles as kind of our finisher. Meph is obviously a really good card. When you play it in with your board clear, it's just insane value, the size, everything. It forces counters a lot of the time. The big thing for Meph in this deck, and why he needed to be at 3 instead of something like 2, which I would normally play and maybe use like Carmillos or something to get some utility, is that we don't have many ways to deal with rollers. We aren't playing red, so there's no Flames of Outer World, no Thunder, which means that you really just have to attack into them. And that's kind of, these cards are really going to be your workhorses in that sense. Gardea can pump up other things like Thiefsing to be big enough. 800 is occasionally enough, or even enough to make it so 2 of your dorks trade in, or it plus a dork. But you can't deal with rollers very easily in this deck, so you have to have the 3 copies of Meph. Moving into counter magic, we have 3 Zeeks, 3 Cake Zones, and 2 Exceeds. And in a similar note, we have 2 Law of Silence. Law of Silence isn't a counter spell, but it does prevent your opponent from doing horrible things to you sometimes, as well as being able to lock your opponent out of the game with Necronomicon. I do kind of wish I had 4 Zeke sometimes, but I like the counter spread the way it is. We have 2 Light of Lumias and 2 Dreams of Juliet next, and then 1 copy of Stoning to Death as our removal and utility kind of. Dreams is just such a great card. It's one of the nicest things about playing white, which there aren't a lot of. And Light of Lumia is actually an incredibly good removal spell, being able to either fog for a turn by tapping down your opponent's board, or just removing from play whatever threat they have. Then one Stoning is a source of hard removal against Fairy Tail decks. Then we just have two Necronomicons. Necronomicon with Lumia is just about as good as Necronomicon with Abdul, since once per turn you can play one of your removed cards. So when you cast cards from your yard with Necro, they get removed, and then you can play them again with Lumia. This deck is a little bit worse now since they changed it to where you don't get the enter abilities on those cards, but it's still really, really strong and gets a lot of value. Plus, obviously, being able to lock them out of the game with Law of Silence or just counter magic in general. Lumia is just one of the best rollers to play against Control Mirrors. Being on our flip side gives you a functional extra card every single turn. So it's just a really good deck to be playing against the Pandora decks. It's pretty good against the Abdul decks. Pretty good against the Scheherazade decks. It's not really bad against anything. Like, as a roller, she's insane. Probably stronger than most of those rollers. Unfortunately, being forced to play white mana, and specifically Almerius, really makes your deck kind of lackluster. I could get really greedy and try to force Flames of Outer World in here, change my mana around a little bit. I don't need all these stones, you know. Just kind of maybe play 3 white stones only and put 3 green-red stones in, play double Guardia, and then jam 3 Flames of Outer Worlds in there or something. That would make the deck better, but it would make it a lot more inconsistent too. But for right now, I think this is just the safest way to go. In general, I'm not sure how this deck's going to get changed with the release of NPR and Vingolf in the starters. I'm not really even 100% sure what's in the starter decks. But I know there's going to be a lot of changes. We're adding a ton of new cards to the card pool, and I'm really excited for that. Sorry I didn't get through all of the different rollers before the new stuff came out, but you know, we'll get to work doing as much content with the new cards as we can, getting new archetypes built, new decks from the starter rollers, new Vingolf decks. Just trying to build as many different things as we can for you guys. Let me know down below in the comments what you're interested in seeing from the new sets other than openings. We're obviously going to be opening up boxes of the set, probably going to open up the starters and a Vingolf box all on camera for you guys to see, so if you're not sure what the contents are, you'll be able to see them there. And just let me know what rollers or new decks you'd like to see made, and we're going to try to get as much of that done for you guys as possible. In the meantime, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel so you can be kept up to date when all the sick new content's coming. So, until next time, guys, I'll see you soon.